Do you ever have a killer song idea, but you're not quite sure how to get that idea all the way to a fully fleshed out song? You're not even really sure where to start with lyrics. You just are staring at a blank page. You're like, I have this great concept, but how do I turn that into a full lyric? Well, today we're going to talk about 3 different documents that I think are really helpful to make before you start trying to write the lyrics, so that by the time you get to actually trying to write the lyrics and edit the lyrics, it becomes so much easier. Let's talk about it. Hello, friend. Welcome to another episode of Songwriter Theory. Today we are going to be talking about those 3 different documents that I think are absolutely killer for developing a song idea before you really start trying to put pen to paper, so to speak, and try to actually write the lyrics. It helps make that lyric writing process so much easier, more natural. One of the documents will help give you a word bank to sort of draw from. So be sure to stay till the end to get the info on all 3 of those. Also, I'm right now, for those of you who've been listening for a while, I just got an email from somebody recently that didn't realize I have a YouTube channel and that these are also YouTube videos. So for those of you on podcast, here is another notification that yes, I have a YouTube channel. These podcasts are up on YouTube, especially the later ones. And also of note, starting this year, I'm really going to dive into making non-podcast videos as well. So for example, this week, I plan to do different videos that are diving into just me showing you, like on my screen, some examples of these 3 documents that we're going to be talking about today. So for the podcast today, we're sort of going to give that overarching overview, if you will, and then we'll dive specifically into each document, hopefully over the next week. It might take a little longer than that. Also want to let you know that there are some requests that I have not gotten to yet, but the plan is for those to be coming here shortly. Somebody a while ago asked about writing vocal harmonies. That one's going to be coming. I started preparing for that. Somebody talked about taking poetry and turning and making it into music, which I think I might have talked about before. I've at least done some talking about it, but I'm going to visit those. I appreciate every time you give me an idea of something to talk about, or you just tell me what you need to learn. It helps me with deciding what to talk about. And it's great because at the end of the day, I'm here to help you. So if you tell me what will help you, like we all win, right? So let's dive into the first one. The first sheet we've talked about before. This is the simplest of all. This is not revolutionary, or probably shouldn't be. And it's just the idea sheet, right? This is where it's a sheet that you have, and it doesn't need to be a sheet, right? You can store it on your phone, anywhere. I personally use a Google Drive, Google Doc is what I use. But this is just a place that you can, anytime you get a song idea, you don't say to yourself at midnight, oh, I'm too tired, or, oh, I don't know where my notebook is, or, oh, I'll write the song idea in the morning. You do not do that because you might not remember in the morning. Never do that. And the beauty of specifically Google Drive is you have it on your phone usually, you have it on your computer, right? Like you have access to that everywhere pretty much. So that's why I like to use that. But really the whole concept of the idea sheet is literally just to capture ideas, right? It can be something that is like a line that comes into your mind, right? Like for example, one I had recently was here until you leave. I'm here until you leave. And that just really struck me. The concept of like, I'm going to be with you for as long as you choose to be with me. So that really was something that for me was like, that resonated with me. So I wrote it down and I've been developing a song off of it since then. So that's an example. Sometimes I've written just symbols that speak to me. So for example, an old song of mine, which I haven't released yet, but will probably be released in the next year. Weird story, long story short. I had a rock band, college ended, no longer had that rock band before we were able to release that stuff. And it felt weird to release it when there was no longer a real band, but I'm going to release it anyway because I love it. But anyway, it's called Whispers of Angels. And to be honest, I think I sort of got the idea from the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. If you know anything about Doctor Who, yes, I'm a nerd. I talk about Star Wars all the time. You know this. So like that gave me the idea of this concept of like a dark angel that's whispering bad advice to somebody, but it's an angel, so it must be good advice, right? So that's another example, right? Just a little symbol that for whatever reason resonates with you, or just a song concept, right? Like another one I wrote down recently is one I got from my wife from a piece of art that she's working on called The Seed That Never Grows, I think is what it's called. And that for me was like, oh, that's cool. That's inspiring. So just write down all of your ideas in the idea sheet. That's all there is to it. Boom, let's go. Next one, Brainstorm Sheet. This is that sheet that once you have an idea in your idea sheet that you really want to actually develop into a song. Now, again, I'm not using the word write because we're not writing yet. Technically, we're writing sort of, but we're not writing lyrics yet. That's very important, right? Because there's a certain pressure on writing lyrics, and to go straight from an idea to writing lyrics can be a pretty big leap. Sometimes it works out great. Sometimes you can do it. Sometimes you're inspired enough that you can go from idea to completed song in half an hour. That happens once in a blue moon. But a lot of times it doesn't work out that way. So in other cases, this brainstorm sheet can be super helpful. There's basically two things that I think everybody should do in a brainstorm sheet that really helps in this song development process. Number one, go to Google Images and search for images that sort of evoke the emotion that your song is, right? Is it a breakup song? Go find pieces of art that are either, maybe a photograph of a breakup, or maybe it's sort of an artistic vision of, I found this one picture that's really cool. It's like two people sitting on opposite sides of the tree, and on each side of the tree, the whole like sky and everything is totally different. Like one, it's like red and dark sort of, and the other one is like, it's like green and hopeful or something like that. That might not be exactly right, but find images that sort of evoke this emotion in you, right? Art helps inspire other art. So for example, I have a good friend, Carlo. If you've ever watched any of my Mount Rushmore of Everything videos on our other channel, that's the person that I do that with. He's an artist, first and foremost. Artist meaning, painting and drawing art, not music art. And it's funny because we were talking to each other and he was talking about how he likes to listen to music to help inspire him with art. And I like to go find art to inspire me with music, right? And this happens all the time, right? Movie makers will go read a book to be inspired, right? Or art inspires art. So for me, I think the most helpful one of all is to grab pictures. I like to grab at least 3 pictures. Note, these pictures, I prefer art over like photography personally, but do whatever works for you. But don't get 3 pictures that are like all the same, and don't feel the need to get pictures of the event, right? So I gave the example of the breakup. If it's a breakup song, you don't need to find a piece of art that is literally representing, a girl walking away from a guy, right? Like you don't need to do that. You can just find some sort of sad image that evokes the same emotion that you sort of want your song to have of the sadness of the breakup. Or maybe you're not talking about the sad part. Maybe you're talking, wow, that was a cat making a lot of noise, if you heard that. If you didn't hear it, now I seem like an idiot because I just said, wow, that was a loud noise and you didn't hear anything. In which case, let me know in the comments below if you're on YouTube. So that's the first part of this brainstorm sheet, is the images. The second part, I really like to just do like free form writing. You can do object writing if you would like. Certainly nothing wrong with that. I don't usually go that far. I literally just like insert myself into, like, put myself in the headspace of the main character of the song, which might be me. Half the time it is me. Let's face it, as songwriters, half the time we're doing self-therapy, right? But, you sort of put yourself in that space and just write. You're not trying to get the syllables right. You're not trying to write lyrics. This is not revolutionary, right? It's super helpful. And most songwriters don't do it, right? Or especially beginner songwriters, right? This is something that, like, it's obvious once it's said, but it's not necessarily obvious right away. A lot of people don't do it. But just taking away that pressure of making sure the syllables are lined up and writing it in a lyrical way, just write. Like, pretend like you're journaling as the character of the song, which again may be you, which makes it even easier. Literally journal on this page. because now you're going to get some words, you're going to get some concepts, you're going to get maybe a little storyline in there that you can use for a verse or for the chorus. You might have thought that your first idea was the main concept, but as you write on this brainstorm sheet, you might realize, oh, there's this other more interesting concept that I want to be the centerpiece of my song. So for all those reasons, it's super helpful. Before we dive into the third one, just want to throw out there, if you haven't gotten it already, I do have a guide that will help you with 10 different ways to start writing a song. It's at songwritertheory.com/free guide. This is super helpful if you're a new songwriter, and it's really helpful for those of us that have been songwriting for a while. It's just a good way to change up how you start writing a song so that you end up coming up with something a little more inspired, because let's face it, if you always grab a guitar and start writing a song the same way, your songs will start to sound the same. So this captures 10 different ways to start writing a song, 5 from a lyrical standpoint. If you're more of a lyricist and you like writing lyrics first, there's 5 different ways for you. And then there's also 5 different ways for music first. Also, if you've been watching or listening for a while, you know that my opinion is that you should do both. No matter which one you're stronger at, doing a little bit of lyrics first and music first, I think, is the way to go. So if you're somebody that really struggles with one of them, but is good at the other one, this is a good way to give you 5 ways of how you can start tackling the other. If you're lyrics first, you do music first instead. So songwritertheory.com/free guide. Also, if you found this helpful so far, drop a comment below. Let me know. Also drop a like, subscribe, etc. if you're on YouTube. If you're on podcast, you can go leave a review on iTunes. That'd be awesome and super helpful. So number 3, related word sheet. So this one is basically like creating a dictionary of words for you to use in your song that evokes sort of the feelings and helps make your song feel like it's all, maybe in one setting or in one, it just makes it feel whole, if you will. So let's talk about it a little bit. Basically, the concept is you find 5 to 10 like base words for your song. So for example, I talked about Here Until You Leave earlier here, and the basic premise of that song, and it sort of comes from a scene that is the main character is looking at the person they love as that person is looking at the sunset. So it's all symbolic, right? Of like that person sort of looking to the future and maybe this other person's not in it, but you have your eyes fastened on them. So it's sort of this like, it's a literal thing, but it's also a symbolic thing. And the whole thing centers around that concept of I'm here until you leave. So it's sort of about that point in a relationship where you realize you will never break up with that person. And if you had it your way, you would get married. But sometimes you have that weird feeling in your heart that like, we're not going to make it. But I know it's not going to be me who decides not to be with you anymore. I know it's going to be you that decides not to be with me. So the whole song is about that very specific moment and emotion. And it sort of comes from this beach scene of like 2 people with the sun setting on the beach, right? Everybody else has left because it's getting dark. And that's sort of the scene that I want to set in that song. So because of that, I wrote down some of the central words of that. So I wrote beach, sunset, lighthouse. And then from there, you can do a related word search, which there's an awesome, super helpful website called relatedwords.org, which I actually just found. So I'm super excited about it. Probably found it like a month or 2 ago. And basically what it is you can put a word into it. And again, it's relatedwords.org. You can put a word into it. And yeah, this is totally free too, in case you're wondering or worried. It's totally free. So you can throw words in there and it will give you other related words. So for example, when I put in beach, I got words like cove, pier, boardwalk, cliffs, coast, ship, wave. And, you don't even need to go to that, right? You can sort of figure out your own associated words. But basically the premise here is take an Excel doc or a Google Sheets. I use Google Sheets because I use Google for everything, even though they may or may not be evil, but whatever, it's fine. It's convenient, right? and I'm American, so that's what we do. We say, it's fine. Steal our freedoms as long as we're secure. But anyway, so basically at the top in that first row, you just have these sort of core words that you're working off of. And then from there, down the column, you put in those related words, right? And it can be as easy as go to relatedwords.org, put that word in, and go through the entire list of words and write all the words that you like in that column. And soon you have like 100 words that sort of evoke the scene or the emotions that you considered the heart of your song, right? Is the beach the heart of your song? Is heartbeat the heart of your song? Is sadness the heart of your song? Is aching at the heart of your song, right? Whatever those words are, it doesn't have to be setting. It can be anything. And then figure out a bunch of other words. Why is this helpful? Well, to me, the most helpful part is sometimes there can be a struggle with finding the right words that are really very evocative, right? Like, and there's something about words like pier and sunset that, like, if I can like throw those in, it's really building this world of like, you realize this is on a beach, because there's nothing in the chorus that would tell you of the image in my head, right? It's the image in my head about this song of me looking at you know, a person and that person looking towards the sunset, right? That's a very vivid image in my head, but it's not spelled out in the song. But if there's a bunch of words in there that sort of evoke this beach thing, and the sunset is mentioned, so we know that sunset is involved here, that, you know, that I'm looking at her and she's looking at the sunset, that part's covered. But a lot of these other pieces that are vivid in my head are not going to be vivid in yours, which could be okay. But I might want to give you that sort of beach image, right? Everybody's left, and we're alone on the pier, maybe, and that's where we're watching the sunset from. So that's the third document. I think it is super, super helpful. Between these three documents, you're going to have a place to capture all your ideas so you don't lose them with the first idea sheet. The second one, you're going to be able to start developing an idea, and maybe your idea will evolve a little bit. And then with a third sheet, you're going to be able to get a whole bunch of words that you can use as you're writing your actual lyric that will sort of evoke the different emotions or the different scenery or the different story elements that you really want to evoke. Let me know in the comments down below if this was helpful to you and which document you plan on using this week to help develop a song. Let me know. Number 1, number 2, or number 3? Idea sheet, brainstorm sheet, or related word sheet? Let me know in the comments if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube and you're listening via podcast, go leave me a review on iTunes and let me know there. Deal? Cool. I'm going to assume you said yes, since it was such a reasonable request of mine. Thank you to all of you who have listened and watched for a while. Thank you to those of you who are new. I hope this was really helpful to you. And thank you to those of you who have been emailing me recently. A lot of you have really sent some encouraging words, some awesome songs you've sent me. And I'm going to have that at the end of a podcast very soon, because if you send me a song, hey, as long as it's clean, by the way, as long as it's clean, I want to give you a shout out in front of other listeners if possible. So we're going to be doing that. So be looking forward to that probably in the next episode. Again, to reiterate, I do plan also on releasing videos. Yes, YouTube videos, because again, I thought I talked about it a bunch on this podcast, but somebody just recently emailed me and told me that they were not aware that there was a YouTube channel. So I guess I am not doing a very good job at communicating that. So these videos I'm talking about, where we're going to dive into each of these individual sheets and I'm going to show you what they look like and how I utilize them, those will not be podcasts, right? Because it's not super helpful if I'm, showing something that you can't see. So that will be only on YouTube. So go ahead to YouTube and subscribe there if you are interested in seeing those. Otherwise, I will talk to you next week for those of you on podcasts, and I will see you very soon on YouTube.